Hey, what is up guys? I'm KBHD here and welcome to the iPhone X Revisited. So the iPhone X release date was around 6 months ago, so half a year. It's midway between the cycle. And of course when it first comes out, there's a ton of hype. Everyone's riding high on that hype of the newly designed, fresh, once-in-a-generation iPhone X. Even at that time, for $1,000 at the end of my review, I did say, for people who know what they're getting into, it's probably worth it. Now that that hype has died down though, and we've actually used it and put it through its paces and had our fair share of issues or non-issues, this is time to revisit if it's worth the $1,000 or not. So really all of the story is about that design. You know, finally, a new iPhone with a different design after year after year after year of the same thing.
For more than a decade, our intention has been to create an iPhone that is all display. A physical object that disappears into the experience. This is iPhone X.
So really, after hearing all this from Apple, it kind of feels like, oh, okay, this is the way things are gonna be from now on. You know, this is the beginning of the future of the iPhone from here on out. We're gonna have these bezel-less screens. We're gonna have this top-of-the-line, state-of-the-art tech again, finally in the design department. So it's worth taking a second look at. First of all, the name, iPhone X. Everyone calls it the X, so I'd say the name hasn't held up that well, but Apple doesn't really care about that the same way they didn't care about people calling it the iTouch. Naming is whatever, it's the iPhone X. But the hardware, it has held up great. So this is the second iPhone X actually that I've carried since it came out, and I'll get more into that in a second. But every phone wears a little bit different. With different materials, you get different things happening. Pixel 2, for example, people thought it might stain after a while in white. It didn't stain, but the coating has worn off and it has this sort of aging, scratching thing going on the side. So iPhone X is glass and stainless steel. So it's doing pretty well, as expected. The glass accumulates small scratches over time, just like any other phone. That's been normal. And the stainless steel band, if you carry it naked, gets tons of little micro scratches. No matter how good you take care of it, you're gonna put it in and out of your pocket all the time. It almost gives it this texture that gradually looks a little bit different day after day from when you had a new phone. But still, no bend gate or anything. This is definitely a well-built phone. This is iPhone X. But like I said, this is my second iPhone X, and the story of that, I've told this before, is I broke it. Not that I broke it, but it was on the top of a counter and it buzzed enough times with notifications to slide to the edge of that counter. It is definitely one of the slipperiest phones of all time, and eventually it fell off, fell about 5 feet, and cracked and shattered the glass. Now you're not supposed to drop basically any phone from 5 feet, but no matter how durable the glass is, like I said in the review, a glass phone is still a glass phone. It's very much more breakable than things other than glass. So that's just the way it is, plus it doesn't help that it's super slippery. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the #1 most cased phone ever. Anyway, the one thing we pretty much know about Apple products is they usually age pretty well. I'd say pretty gracefully. Now 6 months isn't that much, it's half a year, so we've gotten a couple iOS updates since it came out. I expect many more for the couple of years to come. Apple tends to be pretty good about that. I don't have many concerns that iPhone X will continue to get those. And this is also now the first iPhone to come out since Apple said that they would start allowing people to choose between clock speed, performance, and battery life. That's when the phone starts to age. So that'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But really, when I say it's aged gracefully, I mean that like as fast as tech moves now, and with the number of phones that have come out since 6 months ago, iPhone X is definitely still the second or third best smartphone camera on planet Earth. It's definitely one of the most capable as far as power, and will be for a while. That A11 Bionic is a beast. And aesthetically, like I've said, it has held up well. Now, okay, we're 6 months in, and there is no red iPhone X. There's a red iPhone 8 and 8 Plus, and they are really, really red, and they look great, but there's no red iPhone X. I am in the camp that really wishes we had one. The best speculation I've heard as to why we don't is they possibly couldn't do the band around the outside the way they wanted to. So in the red iPhone 8, not only is the glass back this vibrant Ferrari red, but the aluminum sides of the phone were also matte red to match. But the iPhone X has stainless steel sides. So the guess is that they couldn't find the process to make these stainless steel bands as red as they wanted to. It's obviously darker on the space gray iPhone and lighter on the silver, but red would have been nice. So I don't blame them for, I guess, maybe not wanting to do red back, dark band, and actually that would have looked pretty nice. You know what, I take it all back. I actually kind of would have wanted to see a black side band with the red back. Apple. Either way, today we still have the space gray and the silver. I actually personally like the silver to carry more because it shows less fingerprints. Apple never really shows like the sales numbers of which one sells more. I would venture to guess it's not a big difference. So, okay, what about the problems that we've had? What about the downsides of iPhone 10? Well, from the review, the holding up the phone to the side and getting your finger in the corner of the photo you're taking, that stopped real quick. Tons of phones now have those cameras in a vertical stack now. It's basically become the standard in the last couple months, so that's no problem. Lock screen controls, that's something I talked about. Still can't be changed, but that's an iOS thing. I didn't expect a ton of customization to just be added, so that's no surprise. It is what it is. Just like iOS's notifications, just like no headphone jack, just like all the other stubborn little things about the iPhone. That's just the iPhone. You get used to it. All the gestures, I definitely got used to them. They didn't take long to kind of rely on as they become like my new default for interacting with an iPhone. It feels more natural for a display that goes right up to the edges to have swiping gestures from the edges. So it starts off as this really convoluted, complex system, but with the small bezels, it actually feels more correct. But then Face ID. Face ID, I've gotten used to, but it is definitely still my most frustrating part of iPhone 10. And I venture to say I'm probably not alone. So it hasn't gotten faster, and with this first gen hardware, I don't really think it's gonna get much faster. I think it's about optimized for what we have. So that just means there's always gonna be that split-second delay for unlocking your phone. It's not even that long. It's not even half a second. It's a split second, but it's longer than Touch ID, so you notice it, and I still notice it. But what's more annoying is just when my phone is on a table. Just on a table in front of me. When it's off axis like this, like most of my day, when my phone is on my desk in front of me, having to lean into the frame for the phone to kind of see your face is kind of annoying. I think the only way for Apple to solve this would be just by making the array of dots wider angle or just a little bit more downward facing. For some reason, that's still something I haven't really adapted to or gotten used to. It still annoys me. So it's Face ID when the phone is on a table. Could be better. And then the notch. The glorious, infamous, top notch. I got used to this notch pretty quick. As I said in the review, it just kind of faded away since it's not a major part of the UI most of the time. And as you've seen, many others have added a notch to their phones since then, and many will continue to do so. I made a whole video on the state of bezels in 2018. Bezels and notches, definitely worth a click. Now on iPhone 10, it's a big notch, like there's no way around it. I don't watch videos full screen with the notch in there. I actually shrink them down so I don't miss anything. That's just the way it is now. Pretty much every app I use now has been updated in a way so they just embrace the notch. It's just blank space. iOS developers have always been pretty damn responsive, so that's awesome. But at the end of the day, it is a big notch and I wish it was smaller. But since they are pushing for this whole bezel-less future and you do have a really tiny bezel around the whole rest of the phone, I don't mind it. But that actually naturally brings me to the conclusion, which is, what about the next iPhone? Like we just have, a lot of people just bought this phone, which is, you know, this new form factor. It's got the notch at the top, it's full screen, bezel-less, but they just paid $1,000 for it. And there's a very low chance that people spend $1,000 2 years in a row on a new phone. So what's Apple gonna do with iPhone 11, I guess is what it's probably gonna be called, 11. There hasn't really been a whole lot of leaks about this next iPhone. In fact, all we really got was a leaked internal memo about leaks, which is kind of amazing, but really it's inevitable that we get a new iPhone in September and we're wondering what Apple's gonna do with it. But as of right now, I'm hoping for two main things. One, a bigger screen version, and two, a smaller notch. I can't stress enough, this notch is huge compared to others. In fact, iPhone 10 might have right now the biggest notch of any phone that has one. Tons of phones have come out with smaller and smaller notches. I have no choice but to hope that the sensor technology improves and we can make a much smaller notch on iPhone 11. And then I say a bigger screen version, like iPhone 10 is about the size of iPhone 8. It would be awesome to have a phone the size of iPhone 8 Plus that's also all screen. So we kind of have this sort of a lineup of a medium and large iPhone 11. Maybe throw an iPhone SE 2 in there somewhere. We've had all kinds of rumors about the way it might line up, but at the end of the day, that's what I'm hoping for, is those two main things. I gotta say, iPhone 10 has held up really well, which is not easy to do. The thing is, it's at the top of a really premium category, the $800, $900 price point. This is not an impulse buy for most people getting it. But I think the people who are buying it, who know what they're getting into, are willing to accept the little flaws, the little things that are stubborn about the iPhone that aren't quite all there. And it's been pretty great for the most part. So I think a lot of people are still satisfied. So let me know what you think. Have you picked up an iPhone 10? Are you waiting for iPhone 11? Or are you somewhere in between? Let me know what your thoughts are. Until the next one, thanks for watching. Talk to you in the next one. Peace.